Have you ever wondered if someone out there can feel your silence? If a single light in the dark could make another person feel less alone? Tonight, we'll find out. Hello, dear friends of the night. I'm Theodore. Welcome to Night Harbor Sleep, a quiet harbor where stories drift in after midnight and gentle voices guide us toward rest. Here, we meet travelers from every corner of the world, people who found peace in the smallest moments, sometimes in the sound of rain, sometimes in a light that refuses to go out. Tonight's guest comes from the misty city of Seattle, Washington. His name is Owen Miller, a quiet man who lives alone in a small apartment above a closed bookstore. Every night before sleep, he lights a single candle and places it on his windowsill. He says it's not for prayer, not for memory, but simply to let the world know he's still here, still breathing, still okay. And yet one night something changed, because across the rain-blurred glass Owen noticed another light, a flicker that was not his own. And from that small moment began a quiet story of connection and light that travels farther than we ever imagine. So now, wherever you are, find your calm. Let the world outside grow softer. Let the sound of rain settle your breath. And allow this story to drift with you into the night. This is The Light on the Windowsill, a gentle story about loneliness, kindness, and the lights we share without knowing. In the mist-softened city of Seattle, where rain writes quiet music on the windows, Owen Miller kept a simple nightly ritual. He lived alone above a closed bookstore whose wooden sign still creaked whenever the wind leaned down the alley. His apartment was small, calm, and tender with the wear of ordinary days. A kettle with a loosened handle, a green armchair by the window, and shelves lined with paperbacks gone gentle at the corners. At night, he moved more slowly than the hours, letting the room settle around him. One breath, then another. He did not hurry. He listened, and the city, as if answering, listened back. The ritual began with tidying, not for perfection, but for peace. Owen folded a blanket, smoothed a pillow, and placed his keys in the chipped bowl near the door, so their brief, bright clink could mark the day's end. He rinsed a cup, left it to dry, and wiped a circle of water from the counter with the side of his wrist. Outside, a bus sighed at the corner. Footsteps crossed the wet pavement. Somewhere far below, a door closed like a soft period at the end of a gentle sentence. Inside, the lamp by the chair warmed, then dimmed, was a hush, a silver threadfall that stitched the dark to the glass. He could smell the bookstore's nostalgia, ink, paper, a faint vanilla of old pages mingled with the clean mineral cool of the storm. Seattle at night felt like a library with the lights lowered, and his apartment a reading nook saved just for him. Far off, a ferry horn drifted through the damp air, low and reassuring. Owen closed his eyes at the sound, and for a moment he was simply breath and heartbeat and rain. On the sill above the radiator sat a small brass candle holder, polished by habit more than effort. He had found it at a thrift shop on Pike, beneath a row of mismatched cups. The shopkeeper wrapped it in newsprint as if it were something delicate and true. Each night, Owen set a fresh tea light into the holder with a care that bordered on reverence. He lit it, not for ceremony, not for prayer, not even for luck, just for presence. A light that said, "A person is here. A heartbeat is here." A quiet, "I am okay," whispered to the wet evening beyond the glass. He struck the match. That first rasp, sulphur waking into orange, felt like a door between worlds briefly opening and closing. The small flame steadied, patient as a listener, and the room changed without moving at all. Shadows found softer edges, colours warmed by a fraction, as though every object had remembered its gentler story. Owen held the match until the heat hummed at his fingers, then shook it out, the smoke curling up in a thin ribbon that smelled like evening in an old cabin, somewhere far from clocks. Outside, droplets raced each other down the glass, and the city exhaled through the rain. Owen placed the candle on the windowsill, just deep enough that the flame could be seen from the street, and just far enough from the curtains to keep them safe. He adjusted the angle, an inch to the left, a breath to the right, until it looked like kindness looking out. From here, he could see 3 windows in the building across the alley, 4 floors of other lives, each a square of softened light. Sometimes a plant reached for a lamp. Sometimes a cat watched the weather. Sometimes nothing moved at all. And still the windows felt like quiet company. Neighbours in the language of glow. The candle's light made a gentle garden on the sill. A tin of peppermints. A pebble from a childhood beach. A photograph of a lake at dusk, tucked in a simple frame. The photo had been taken by his mother years ago, when he still believed lakes and oceans could keep secrets forever. He touched the frame with his forefinger, just once, lightly, then let the fingertip rest on on the warm brass of the holder. The heat was small, but alive. He thought, not for the first time, that warmth was a kind of letter you could feel with your skin. He read it slowly. He settled into the green armchair, the cushion shaping itself around his weight with the hush of something well-loved. On the side table lay a paperback with a cracked spine, the exact page marked by a subway ticket he'd never used. He didn't read it tonight. Instead, he watched the candle's pulse, how it leaned and returned, how it breathed without lungs, how it made the ordinary room seem slightly enchanted. A draft explored the baseboard and drifted away. The clock above the stove ticked with the soft certainty of rain on leaves. Time, like the city, agreed to be slow. Loneliness visited as it always did, politely, without drama, and sat on the rug like an old, well-meaning friend who didn't quite know what to say. Owen did not argue with it. He let it be soft. He let it breathe. He let it listen to the rain. Loneliness, he had learned, is not the absence of people, but the absence of being seen. His candle was a small bridge across that gap, a signal in patient Morse. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Across the alley, a window darkened, then brightened again, as if correcting itself, as if remembering to keep someone company. He poured hot water over a slice of lemon and 3 thin coins of ginger, letting the steam climb in slow curls that carried comfort to his face. The first sip was a gentle ceremony. Heat, citrus, the faint sting that cleared the narrow hallways behind the nose and made the room taste like waking kindness. He cupped the mug in both hands so the warmth could hold him back. Beyond the glass, a pair of headlights smeared white along the rain and turned the alley into a ribbon of moving pearl. The candle answered with its steady, unbothered glow. It did not compete. It kept. Sometimes Owen imagined the city as a great ship, and every lit window a porthole declaring life inside. Someone mending, someone making soup, someone laughing softly into a phone, someone standing barefoot in the kitchen, deciding nothing at all. He liked that, to be part of a vessel of strangers, each small light contributing to the proof of a journey. He adjusted the curtain so the candle could be seen more easily from below. Not a beacon too grand, not a flare too loud, just presence, offered without demand, like a nod exchanged on a midnight sidewalk, like a seat given on a bus. Across the alley, the second-floor window, the one with the ivy that tried to be a curtain, came awake. A figure passed, indistinct, a gentle blur in blue, and paused, as if listening to the rain for a name. Owen's candle wavered. The figure's room brightened by a fraction, then steadied. He wasn't sure why his chest felt lighter. Maybe because just then the city seemed to exhale with him. Each breath a small agreement to be here now, to soften the edges of the day, to be human in the easiest way possible, by noticing a light and letting it be enough. He smiled without deciding to. He thought of his day, its narrow crossings and minor victories. The emails answered, the stairs climbed, the umbrella shaken over the mat. Nothing dramatic, nothing ruined, nothing crowned. Just a series of gentle continuations that led, finally, to this quiet window and this small circle of flame. He wondered who else right now was choosing something similarly small and similarly brave. A cup of tea instead of another hour of worry. A warm shower instead of a bright screen. A note of thanks written and placed under a neighbour's door. He imagined those choices lighting the city like constellations. He felt included. The rain grew finer, almost powder, and the alley took on a hush that felt curated by the night itself. Owen leaned back, let his shoulders sink, and gave himself to slowness, the way a shoreline gives itself to the tide. He timed his breathing to the candle's quiet sway. In and out. In and out. The room answered with a comfort earned by countless evenings like this one. Evidence that rest can be practiced, that peace can be learned the way fingers learn a piano key or feet learn a stair. He was not perfect at it. He was steady. And then, so gently he almost missed it, a second light appeared. Not his candle, not the street lamp, not the passing car. In the third floor window across the alley, a small flame woke and found itself, lifting a quiet halo against the glass. Owen sat forward, breath held the way one holds a fragile truth. The flame brightened, then settled, then stayed. Another person, somewhere behind that rain-brushed square, had set a candle on a cell. No words, no gesture. Only light answering light across the weather. Owen did not speak. He only watched, and felt something in his chest unlock, like a window finding air. For a long time, Owen simply watched. The second light trembled, then steadied, as if finding its breath. The flame painted gold across the wet glass, soft as a heartbeat seen through fog. He wondered who lived there. What kind of person lit a candle on such a quiet, rainy night? The air between them filled with something gentle and wordless, like gratitude. It was not love, not yet friendship, just a reminder that the world, even under rain, is full of others who choose light. And somewhere inside that thought, a peaceful sleep story began to write itself across his heart. The clock showed almost midnight, yet Owen didn't feel tired. He felt calm, the kind of calm that comes after acceptance, not exhaustion. The rain softened into a steady hum, blending with the flicker of the candle. It was like listening to rain sounds for sleep, but alive, real, honest, unfiltered. Through the glass he thought he saw movement, a silhouette turning, pausing, maybe watching back. He smiled, not sure why, and whispered to the flame, "Good evening, whoever you are." Outside, the alley held the secret carefully, wrapping it in mist. Owen leaned his forehead lightly against the cool glass. The temperature difference made a fog print, the faint outline of his breath. Across the way, the other candle flickered in rhythm with his own, as if sharing an invisible conversation. He imagined the city stretching for miles, full of windows and lives, each one glowing in its own rhythm. A relaxing bedtime story unfolding without words, told only through light. He whispered softly, "We're all just keeping each other company." And somewhere far beyond the skyline, thunder rolled like a sighing cello. The moment felt so fragile that he didn't dare move. The wax lowered, pooling softly like golden rain. He traced a circle on the fogged glass, a quiet ritual of connection. He remembered something his mother once said. When you light a candle, you make a promise to stay. He nodded unconsciously, as if still answering her. Then he saw it. Another window lighting up down the block. And then another. 3, maybe 4. Like distant constellations returning after a long sleep. A city of lanterns. Quiet. Human. Alive. Outside, the rain eased into a silver drizzle. The street below glistened like a mirror, catching the reflections of all those candles. Owen could almost hear their rhythm, a heartbeat of light pulsing through the night. It felt like a candlelight meditation, the kind you don't need words for. Each small flame was an act of gentle defiance against loneliness. He leaned back in his chair, hand over his chest, feeling the quiet expansion of gratitude. If kindness could be seen, he thought, it would look exactly like this. The faint sound of a piano drifted from somewhere below. A few uncertain notes, soft and human, echoing through the damp air. It was the kind of sound that feels accidental but perfectly timed, like the universe remembering harmony. Owen let it play against the patter of rain, the candle flicker, the distant hum of the city. Together they became a lullaby, a relaxing rain story written for anyone still awake. He exhaled, long and slow, his breath joining the rhythm of all the small, invisible listeners. He thought about how the world often celebrates noise. Parties, headlines, shouts, but never enough of this. Quiet light, stillness shared between strangers. How many times had he passed people in elevators, sidewalks, coffee lines, without realizing they too might crave a calm night like this one? He raised his mug in a silent toast to them all. The candle answered with a small tilt of flame, like approval. He whispered, "To those who light their windows so others don't feel alone." And the rain seemed to nod. Across the alley, someone opened their window. A gust of cool air carried the scent of wet earth and rosemary. A woman's hand, pale in the candlelight, adjusted her curtain. Owen felt his breath pause. It wasn't recognition, it was simple connection. Two humans aware of each other's small kindness. She didn't wave, didn't smile. She simply let the curtain fall back into place. But the light stayed, and somehow that was enough. In that moment, Owen understood something quietly profound. The city wasn't sleeping, it was resting. Every window was a heartbeat, every flicker a lullaby. What he saw was not isolation, but unity. A network of lights whispering goodnight to each other. He leaned forward again, resting his chin on his arm, watching the candle burn lower, each inch of wax marking another minute of peace. "Maybe," he murmured, "this is how the world says it cares." The air inside his apartment had grown warmer. The radiator hissed softly, like a tired friend keeping watch. The candle's scent was faint, beeswax and comfort. He thought of writing it all down, but realized the light itself was already doing the writing. This was his journal. The rain, the reflection, the hush between breaths. The flame flickered, and on the glass his reflection blurred with the candle's glow. Man and light, inseparable for one small hour. He looked at the opposite building again. 5, now 6 windows had candles, each one different, some bright, some small, all steady. It felt like watching hope multiply, a soothing story before sleep, told by people who would never meet. He wondered if tomorrow they would all do it again, or if this night was meant to live only once, like a whispered kindness that doesn't ask to be remembered. Either way, it was beautiful, and in beauty he found rest. The city hummed beneath the rainfall. Distant cars sighed across wet pavement. Somewhere a dog barked once, then curled into sleep. The candlelight trembled against the rhythm of passing clouds. Owen felt the pull of sleep, slow and forgiving. He took one last sip of tea and whispered to the window, "Thank you for the company." And though no one answered, he was certain the world had heard. As midnight crossed quietly into morning, a fog settled low along the street, blurring buildings into watercolor shapes. The city became a dream of itself. Through the haze, the windows still glowed, a constellation of humanity stitched into the night. Each flame told the same soft truth. We are never as alone as we think. Owen exhaled, and the glass cleared, just enough to see his own light reflected back. The wax was almost gone. Owen reached for a new candle, set it gently in the holder, and waited. The act felt ancient, instinctive, like tending a fire that doesn't belong to one person, but to everyone. He lit it, and the room bloomed with warmth again. Outside, the other windows still burned. Together, they made the night feel alive. A chorus of steady flames keeping the darkness kind. He leaned back once more, the soft hum of rain and candlelight blending into a perfect lullaby. His eyes grew heavy. The candlelight rippled across the walls like shallow waves, and he realized this was not a story about loneliness, but about recognition. The miracle of being seen without words. He smiled, the kind of smile only quiet people know. The candle's last spark swayed, then steadied, then slept. The next evening arrived wrapped in the same silver rain. Seattle was a watercolor painting come to life. Washed edges, softened streets, and windows glowing like small moons. Owen returned from work with the same quiet ritual. Coat on the hook, kettle on the stove, candle on the sill. But when he looked outside, something had changed. More windows, far more than before, shimmered with warm light. He counted 10, 12, maybe 20. It was as if the city had learned a new language overnight. A calm communication written in cozy candlelight. He stood there for a long time, his breath fogging the glass. His heart steady but expanded. The rain was steady again, rain sounds for sleep. Gentle, rhythmic, endlessly patient. Each window across the block looked like a heartbeat. He wondered if anyone else was watching too, noticing how the darkness had been decorated by care. The thought made him smile. Not from pride, but from the miracle of quiet company. In the apartment below, an elderly man lit a candle and placed it beside a framed photograph. Across the street, a young woman did the same, her flame flickering beside a bowl of oranges. Owen and saw them both through the veil of rain, each small act blending into a collective piece. A relaxing bedtime story unfolding in real time, told by strangers who didn't know they were part of the same chapter. The city exhaled, softly, steadily, as if whispering, "Good night, my people." He thought about how loneliness had once been a wall. Tonight it was a bridge. Every flickering light across the glass was proof that tenderness could travel farther than sound. The alley below glistened, a small river of reflections flowing between the buildings. It looked like a constellation had fallen and decided to rest there a while. Owen pressed his palm to the cold glass. Through it he could almost feel the pulse of 1,000 quiet lives, awake together, but peacefully apart. From a distance, the neighborhood began to look enchanted. Balconies flickered. Shops left candles in their windows after closing. Even the cafe on the corner, the one with fogged glass and a sleepy cat, had a flame glowing beside its sugar jars. It was as if the city had rediscovered its heartbeat. Owen whispered, "You see, light travels faster when it's shared." And in that moment, the rain turned softer still, a lullaby between rooftops. He wondered if tomorrow the news would mention it. Residents light candles across downtown. No reason given. Maybe someone would call it a trend or a protest or a performance. But Owen knew better. It wasn't a movement. It was a reminder. A message written in wax and wick and silence. That kindness doesn't need a reason to begin. It just needs a window. His candle burned low, the flame smaller now, but stubborn, still clinging to the thread of its wick. He adjusted the curtain slightly, letting the glow spill into the rainy street. Across the way, he saw a child's face appear, small hands pressed to the window, eyes wide with wonder. The child pointed, and moments later, another flame joined the night. A bedtime sleep meditation in motion. No narrator, no instruction, only participation. The storm shifted west. The wind carried the faint scent of cedar and salt from the bay. It moved through the city like a hand smoothing a blanket, tucking everyone in under its gray comfort. Owen leaned back and closed his eyes. He didn't need to see the candles anymore. He could feel them. Each one a heartbeat. Each one saying softly, "I'm here too." Somewhere on the corner, a bus stopped, empty, its red lights reflected in the wet street, blending with the warm candle glow from dozens of windows. It looked almost celestial, as if the earth had borrowed a bit of the sky. The rhythm of the rain joined in, a steady percussion that softened thought into feeling. Owen whispered, sound that fills empty rooms and turns silence into belonging. Outside, thunder rolled far away, more like applause than warning. He thought of everyone sitting behind their windows, each with their own reasons for lighting a candle. Sorrow, memory, love, or maybe nothing at all. And yet, together, they had made the night kind. Hours passed unnoticed. The candle had melted halfway down the holder, its sides glistening like amber. Owen traced the edge of the brass base with his thumb, feeling its warmth fade slowly into cool metal. He didn't fight the drowsiness that followed. He simply allowed it to arrive, like a friend sitting quietly beside him. A perfect, relaxing story for sleep, one that didn't end, only softened into rest. He stood once more by the window. The world outside shimmered in gentle motion. Reflections, rain, and candlelight all weaving together into one luminous dream. He thought about how small this act was, and yet how large it had become. Every light was a reminder that goodness still existed, quietly, steadily, faithfully. Owen pressed his hand to his heart and closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt perfectly at home. He turned off the lamp, leaving only the candle to guide the room. Shadows stretched along the walls like tired dancers, then folded gently into stillness. Outside, the world looked softer now, as if the entire city had exhaled together. Owen whispered, "Good night, Seattle." The rain replied with a whisper of its own. It was enough. When the clock struck 2, Owen finally rose, stretching his tired hands toward the ceiling. The wax was almost gone. He watched the last thread of flame hold itself bravely before surrendering to smoke. Across the street, a few windows still glowed, refusing to sleep. He smiled. The world didn't need to be awake together. It just needed to be kind together. The room darkened, but the calm stayed. He sat one last time beside the extinguished candle, listening to the sound of rain, feeling its rhythm guide his breath slower, slower still. He thought of tomorrow, of coffee, of work, of ordinary hours. But he knew something had changed. Tonight had shown him that even the smallest flame can find its reflection in another heart. And as the city slept beneath the rain, Owen's eyes closed too, his pulse steady with the rhythm of the storm. Morning arrived like a sigh, soft, pale, uncertain. The rain had stopped, leaving thin mist weaving between the buildings. Owen woke to the smell of coffee drifting through the old pipes, and city returning to itself. He rubbed his eyes, crossed to the window, and there, even in daylight, wax still clung to glass. Tiny rivers of gold traced the edges where candles had burned all night. It was proof that something gentle had happened, something worth remembering. The street below looked cleaner, brighter somehow. Neighbors moved quietly, greeting one another with shy smiles. A woman waved from her balcony, a small candle still unlit in her hand. Owen waved back. He didn't know her name, but it didn't seem to matter. Between them was an understanding that some silences connect more deeply than words ever could. The morning light slipped gently through the window, warming the brass base of last night's candle. He made breakfast slowly. Toast, honey, a bit of orange marmalade. The radio spoke in hushed tones. A local host mentioning the candle window seen across downtown. No one knew why it started, but the city felt softer, as if people had remembered that connection doesn't always need a reason. He smiled to himself. The world rarely noticed quiet miracles, but when it did, it usually began with light. He took his coffee to the fire escape. The metal was damp and cool beneath his palms. Far below, a group of children pointed at a puddle, their reflections dancing with the leftover glow from the candles above. He laughed quietly. It was the kind of laughter that didn't need sound, only breath, only gratitude. Each sip of coffee carried a warmth that reminded him that comfort doesn't come from perfection, but from presence. By noon, the clouds began to drift apart. Blue returned, hesitant but real. People stood in their doorways, talking, some holding candles in jars, others snapping photos of the wax trails on stone. It looked like the city had been sprinkled with soft memories. Owen tucked his hands into his pockets, watching strangers greet strangers. Even the air felt different, lighter, like forgiveness. He was another everything. He decided to walk down the familiar street, past the bookstore and the bakery. Every window he passed seemed to glow faintly still, not from candles, but from memory. He imagined that even at night, when people slept, the warmth stayed behind, woven into walls and window frames. It was no longer his ritual alone. It belonged to everyone now. A small cafe had written on its chalkboard, "Light your window, love your neighbor." Owen chuckled softly. It wasn't a slogan, but it felt like a blessing. Inside, two elderly women sat by the window, their tea steaming beside half-melted candles. bus driver greeted him kindly, something rare in a city of haste. He tipped his head in return, noticing a small wax stain on the driver's glove. Another participant in the quiet ritual, he thought. He sat near the window, watching the reflection of passing buildings flicker in glass. Every pane of light seemed to whisper the same soft phrase: "You are not alone." The day moved slowly, as if the world itself didn't want to rush this feeling away. Shops opened with music, low and gentle. A violinist played by the fountain, a tune that felt like homecoming. People stopped, listened, smiled. No one clapped. They simply stood there, letting the melody wash over them like sleepy rain. Sounds for peace. The city had learned to breathe in rhythm again. Owen returned home before sunset. His window still bore the wax ring from the night before. He didn't clean it. It felt sacred, like a scar the light had left to remind him. He lit another candle, not for attention, not for tradition, but for gratitude. Outside, a faint reflection answered from the opposite window. A familiar glow replying, "I'm still here." He sat near the sill, watching as twilight draped the neighborhood in violet. The rain began again, light, steady, endlessly calm. It made a soft percussion on the glass, a rhythm that could lull anyone toward peace. He leaned his head against the frame. In that hush, he realized that what began as loneliness had turned into quiet connection. A shared sleep story, written in candlelight. He thought of all the people who'd lit candles last night. He wondered what their reasons were. Grief, hope, memory, love. But maybe the reasons didn't matter. Maybe what mattered was that they'd all chosen to light something instead of turning away. And in that choice, the city had whispered back to its people, "You are seen." The candle flame bent toward the window again, reaching for the mist. Owen smiled. The rain softened into almost silence. He closed his eyes and listened to it. That perfect harmony between warmth and weather. He thought, maybe this is what peace sounds like. It wasn't loud. It was steady. It was enough. The night deepened. Owen turned off the lamp and let the candle be his only light. He leaned back, breathing slowly, matching the rhythm of the rain. Through the fogged glass he could still see the faint glow of other windows far away. Every flicker felt like a heartbeat in the distance, reminding him that kindness was contagious, and peace could travel quietly between strangers. Before the last drop of rain faded from the glass, "Thank you for watching with me." If this story kept you company tonight, let your own light join ours. Subscribe to our Quiet Harbour return whenever the world feels too loud. Leave a gentle word below, a comment, a thought, a spark of kindness. Your voice might be the light someone needs. And until another night drifts in, sleep softly and let your window glow. The night deepens slowly, like ink spreading across calm water. The rain has softened into whispers, each drop a note in the song of sleep. Owen's candle glows faintly on the sill, a quiet pulse, steady, patient. Outside, the city breathes, 1,000 windows dimming, one by one. This is the sound of peace, a bedtime relaxation that asks for nothing. If you listen closely, you'll hear the sea, far beyond the rooftops. Its rhythm, endless and kind. Every wave carries a whisper, a promise that the world is still turning, still gentle, still full of light. Let the sound of the rain for sleep wrap around you. It knows how to keep secrets. It knows how to quiet the mind. Take a slow breath in through the nose, out through the lips, just like the tide moves along the sand. Feel your heartbeat slow, matching the rhythm of the rain. Let your body rest heavier into the bed, the mattress beneath you steady and warm. You are safe here. You are home. You are part of this quiet story now. The flame in Owen's window drifts gently, a reflection in the wet glass, a reminder that connection doesn't fade, it only softens. Each light across the city glows like a heartbeat, pulsing in rhythm with the rain. This is not just a sleep story. It's a lullaby made of small kindnesses, a quiet harbor for tired souls. Let your shoulders loosen, your hands unclench. The air moves softly across your skin, cool, steady, real. It smells faintly of rain and peace. Imagine the window beside your bed, a small candle glowing there, your own gentle light. It doesn't have to be bright. It only has to be true. Every breath now is a wave returning home. Every exhale, a letting go. The body knows how to rest. The heart knows how to heal. You don't need to try. You only need to allow. Let the peaceful night ambiance hold around you like a soft blanket. If thoughts wander, let them drift like lanterns across a dark lake. No need to chase them. They will find their own shore. Somewhere in the distance, you can still hear the sound of rain sounds for sleep. A steady lull between heartbeats. The world hums low and kind. You are part of it. You are whole. Now imagine your light joining the others. Each small flame, a soul resting, dreaming, breathing. They glow together, not to shine, but to soothe. Like the stories we share, they keep the night from feeling lonely. And as you rest, remember, your calm becomes someone else's comfort. The rain deepens now, a little slower, a little softer. The candle flickers one last time, then steadies, its light merging with the darkness. Outside, the city exhales. The story exhales. And you exhale with it. Welcome to rest. Now, the screen will fade to black. Only the rain sounds will remain. Let them keep you safe. Let them keep you asleep. There's no more story to follow. No more thoughts to hold. Only breath and warmth and the quiet hum of your own heart. The candle in the window still burns, softly, to let the world know you are here. You are resting, and you are okay.